If you're trying to get into PC gaming on a budget, then you probably know that the best value is always going to be building your own gaming PC. But what if you're not just limited on budget, but on space? This here is a £175, 7 or 8 year old gaming laptop. And this is here to answer one question. Are old gaming laptops actually worth it? Obviously, when you go for a laptop over a custom-built PC, you know that you're not going to get quite as good specifications. Now, this has a i7 7700HQ, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, and the graphics card is actually something quite strange. It's a GTX 1050 non-TI 4GB. Now, I'm pretty sure this and only a few other laptop models of this generation actually had that. It's not a TI model, but it just has 4GB, not the regular 2. But despite all of those worse specifications, you do save a lot of money. Obviously, this comes with a screen. It's a 15.6-inch 1080p 60Hz panel. It looks fine. I can't really notice that it's anything amazing. The viewing angles aren't great, but that's as it has to be expected for a laptop, as you can adjust it so freely. And it does have a relatively small trackpad and a full-size keyboard with a number pad, which is incredibly useful for anyone that's going to be using this for typing regularly. I find it incredibly useful for typing in passwords and things like that. And it is overall a relatively easy to use keyboard. I don't really find myself disliking it much. It doesn't have much travel, but yeah, as to be expected for a laptop. Continuing with practicality, let's go to the ports. So that is the charging port there, just a regular barrel jack, 2 USB-As, and a headphone microphone combo jack on this side. And around the other side, you'll see it has an SD card slot, another USB-A, a full-size HDMI slot, and Ethernet. Overall, pretty much everything you would need at this price point. Taking off the back panel, we can see that it has a 74 watt-hour battery, again, not too bad, and that it has a 500GB Western Digital Blue SSD. Very impressive having an NVMe drive for a 7th gen. I think that only started at 6th gen, so very nice to see here. And it has a spare slot for a 2.5-inch hard drive or SSD. And here we can see 16GB of laptop memory, as I said earlier. And I think that's the Wi-Fi chip, along with the 2 cooling fans up at the top. Overall, it looks very upgradable. As I said, as you can see, those are fully available. That can be filled there, and that can be swapped with just a screw. Overall, a great deal more upgradable than most new laptops. And it turns out that £175 might not even be super cheap for one. Here's one. It does have a 1TB hard drive and a 128GB SSD, unlike this one which has a 512GB SSD, and it only has 8GB of RAM, not 16 that this one has. But for £188, you know, the option's there. Most of my games are finished installing, apart from GTA 5, which is going to be another 5 hours. Obviously, it'll be instant for you. Let's get into some benchmarks. Starting things off with BeamNG Drive at 1080p normal settings, we see it take a while to get going, but once it does, it displays a solid 60 to 75 average FPS. This is on quite a demanding map, but includes no traffic, so make sure to take that into account. Next up is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which is no trouble for this laptop, pushing out a consistent 60 FPS at 1080p medium settings, but this is a game from 2011. In Euro Truck Simulator 2, we see more solid performance with a solid locked 60 FPS, again at 1080p medium. This is where we see the GPU start to struggle, as the CPU is only around 30% usage, while the GPU is at 99%. In Project Zomboid, we see slightly lower performance, with drops into the 40s FPS. Overall, averaging high 50s, still entirely playable. In Counter-Strike 2, the performance is a bit disappointing, averaging 50 or so FPS at 1080p medium. For this sort of game, you really want closer to 100, if not much more. Coming over to Stardew Valley, we see a perfectly fine average of 60 FPS. That's not a surprise, this is no struggle for this laptop. In Minecraft, once it is stabilised, it averages mid 50 FPS. It does stagger when loading chunks, but otherwise completely playable. With a second-hand laptop, the battery is a big gamble. Now, I'm going to test this one. I'm going to play some Skyrim at 1080p medium. The battery is on the slightly higher performance setting and is at 89%. I'll see you in half an hour. So, half an hour later, after about 20 minutes of gameplay and about 10 minutes of YouTube or so, we have lost 24% battery, which shows that it should last about an hour and a half gaming on full charge. Not awful. I reckon you could probably get 3 out of watching YouTube or doing lighter tasks. Now, obviously, with any laptop review, we've got to do the crab rave test. Now, don't obviously take this to heart, because it will just sound like the phone that I'm recording this, the phone you're listening to, the headphones you're listening to this with. It's just a bit of fun. For laptop speakers, especially one this cheap, they're pretty damn loud. That was at about half volume. They didn't sound amazing. They didn't sound awful. Perfectly serviceable. Honestly, I'd be happy using this I'd be happy using this for watching YouTube, movies, anything like that. Maybe not music, but it's got a headphone jack. Also, for this price, the build quality is honestly pretty damn good. Yes, the back of it has got this rubberized coating, which captures fingerprints very badly, but it does mean that it's got quite good scratch resistance. Obviously, there are a few that have gotten through, and a couple of marks noticeable. On the bottom, we have got mainly plastic with a couple of rubber rails to stop it from sliding. You can quite easily see the scratches in this light, but can you do the one finger lift like all MacBooks are amazing at, but people don't seem to think that other laptops can? Does it do it? I didn't like that. The front of that did move up, but it did do it. I'm pleasantly surprised at that. So the big question, is this worth it? Well, as I said, I paid £175 for this laptop. For that, you could obviously get better performance from a PC, but what you've got to consider is that this has technically a mouse. I would probably buy another mouse, but this has a keyboard and monitor. Now, if you were to go and buy one of those, even second-hand, you're looking at adding at least £50 to your budget. So you've got to think, could you build a better PC for about £110, £120? And if you're clever with your money, yes, you can. But also, you've got to factor in portability, the fact that this has got inbuilt speakers. It's got inbuilt Wi-Fi. And you can game anywhere you want. Honestly, for £175, even £200, I think this is a pretty damn good deal. Is it worth it? Only you can say that realistically. But if your budget is around the £200 to £250 mark, you can quite easily pick up something equivalent or even slightly better than this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.